This is the Atlanta Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hi everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick for the Atlanta Small Business Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today I'm excited to have with us Mr. Michael Remetowski. I think that you know this gentleman. He's been on our show before. He is the CEO of RamBizGroup. Thanks so much for joining us, Michael.
Glad to be here, Jim.
Yeah, you are a specialist in the area of all things business, specifically the buy and sell of businesses that are out there. I know you've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people in Atlanta either acquire a business or sell their business. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about setting up an exit strategy. You know, company business owners hear that term, and I'm a business owner, it makes us shudder. You know, what does an exit strategy mean? Who said I'm getting out of my business, right? And why do I need to exit it? And if I do, why do I need a strategy, right? Talk to us about why a company needs and what the importance is of having an exit strategy set up.
Yeah, Jim, exit strategy really can be defined in two issues. One is personal exit strategy, and the other is business exit strategy. Personal exit strategy is very simple. Do you have a will? And what does your will tell you? Is your will current? Unfortunately, 60% of our population doesn't have wills. Right. Okay, so those that should, talk to your attorney and get it done as soon as you possibly can. But the other side of the coin is on the business side is what happens when it's no longer fun to walk in the office in the morning, right. Okay? Right. Because, and maybe you have a situation at home that's bothering you, maybe the business has run its course. Sure. Maybe you have a partner that doesn't work as hard as you do any longer. What do you do now? Sure. Okay. Sure. So the design of an exit strategy is nothing more than a plan. Okay. It says, oh, what happens when these things happen? Right. And how do I move forward? If my business is going very, very well, exit strategy might be, how do I go to the next step? Do I go public? Do I sell a business outright and go do something else?
Sure, sure. At what point in time in the life of a business should the business owner consider developing a business strategy?
The first day they start thinking about doing a business. Okay. Okay. Really? Because wow. I have an attitude about everything you do at the end in sight. Okay. Okay. So planning ahead of time, because life is what it is. Yeah, sure. From day to day, we don't know what's going to happen. That's right. So planning ahead. A lot of businesses that are out there have quote-unquote business exit strategies. Okay. What they miss out is some of those exit strategies aren't funded. Yeah. So it's a worthless piece of paper because if your partner decides to walk away or there's a death or a divorce or cases like that, how do you buy out the other guy? Sure, if the funds aren't there to do it, then there's no value in the buy-sell agreement.
Wow. Okay. So if you've got a partner, then you need to sit down with your partner and discuss this exit strategy early on to say, look, these things may come up. It may be an illness. So we've all heard about people, and some of the people that are watching have it in their own families where. Guess what? The doctor says it's not looking good. You might not make it till the end of the year, but you're a business owner and you've got 50 employees, right? What happens in a case like that? And if you've got a partner, that document becomes really the blueprint, if you will, for how to do this properly, right?
Great definition is blueprint. Yeah, okay, sure. What do I do when it's no longer fun? Okay, what do I do when I get sick but I'm going to come back? Right. Okay, and what happens in the interim period of time? How's the business going to run? Will the business be able to run? Sure. Will I still have an income throughout the part of my? That's what an exit strategy really is defined to do.
Yeah, for sure. And who exactly can exit effective? I mean, what is it? Is it every business owner out there that can exit their company and say, okay, I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna move this to somebody else. I'm gonna take a nice big paycheck and move on. Is it every business owner?
I would hope so.
Yeah. Sooner
or later, you're going to come to a conclusion that either you've outgrown the business or the business has outgrown you. Right. Okay. Right. If the business has outgrown you, I think we've heard a term called Peter Principle. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Where maybe time to sell it to a competitor or sell it to the open market area, or if it's large enough to take it public. Sure. Okay. And collect your equity. Sure. Okay. And move on and do other things. Sure.
And is that the time? I mean, you're a business broker and you know how to work with these businesses. Is that the time to bring a specialist like you in so that you're not telling your employees and the marketplace that guess what, you're for sale and you're considering offers, because that can be a disruption to your business as well, right?
Critical in any business transaction, specifically with me, is confidentiality. Right. All right. The ingredients that we bring to the table is at all stages is not it's very important that your competitors don't know what you're doing.
Right.
In a lot of cases, other than maybe key employees, it's important your employees don't know, because word sale, and all of a sudden people get very nervous.
Right.
Okay, sometimes your customers get very nervous and become aware. So confidentiality is one of the key ingredients that's very, very important in the process of where we come in, and how we deal with you and your staff, and how do we show up in your office 2 or 3 days a month, something like that.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes it's better to even meet outside the office, right, or outside the shop, so that people are not. Yeah. So people aren't saying, "Who's this Michael guy coming in here asking all kinds of questions about our company?" Right.
One of my favorite offices is the corner of Chick-fil-A.
There you go. And they have good food. So what happens? What should you do when your business is failing and it's not for sickness or divorce, or that you want to cash in the chips, but it's not doing well?
First step there is to find out whether it's gone or it can be revived.
Okay.
What is it going to take? Is it going to take more money?
Right.
It's going to take different personnel. Is it a personnel problem, a financial problem?
Right.
Sit down with an organization like ours,
Right.
and say, okay, what do we have? Well, first step, probably going to do an evaluation, and to understand what do you have and what do you have left, and then you can kind of get more definitive as far as what your decisions are. How's the next step?
Right.
Okay. And if the next step means that you got to shut it down, pride and the other issues that make it difficult to shut down a business.
Right.
Okay, but you got to look out for the equity of your family.
Sure. And does the size of the business matter when considering a strategy?
In my judgment, no.
Okay.
I deal with mostly businesses under a $10 million revenue stream.
Okay.
The only difference between what I do and anybody that I have contact with over that is the complexity of the exit strategy.
Okay.
And there are more options at the higher level, at that more valuable level, than there are at maybe a 1 million to 5 million, or 5 million to 10 million.
Okay.
Options are just different. The idea is the same. What do I do when I need to walk away?
Sure. Is it essential that you bring in an accountant or an attorney to develop an exit strategy? Is that needed or recommended?
I absolutely agree. I think that you, as your advisors, these are people you count on, people you can trust.
Right.
They bring an element of expertise to the environment.
Right.
It's up to the attorneys to draw the documentation, so that's going to be. But I always perceive our role as being the quarterback in that transaction.
Right.
Okay, so you have the lineman, and with your accountant, and you have the attorney as the running backs, and now everything's being orchestrated. That's the job of the business broker profession.
Okay. Great.
And how do we bring that forward? How do we bring credibility to the transaction?
Right.
And sometimes stop unnecessary expenses in that process.
Right.
Because that occurs every once in a while.
Okay. And for somebody that's listening, that's thinking about this and wants to learn more about selling their business and such, and bringing those parties together, do you bring those individuals in? If somebody comes to you and says, "I don't really have an attorney. He did my corporation a few years ago, but I wouldn't count him as our corporate attorney, and I work with an accountant that does our taxes, but I don't know that that's the right person when it comes time to sell our business." Do you have those contacts? Can they rely on you to say, "Great, I'm one-stop shopping. I got just the guy that you need for this, or just the person you need"?
The understanding is I do.
Okay.
When we recommend attorneys or we recommend accountants, we always recommend 3.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that you still have the choice, Mr. Business Owner, so that you can pick and choose those you're more comfortable with. And sometimes there's certain accountants that are better at certain businesses, and certain attorneys at certain businesses.
Yeah, somebody might be really good at restaurants, while another one might be manufacturing or such.
Perfect example of that is when the time to evaluate a business comes forward. There's certain appraisers who are very good at certain businesses, and there's certain appraisers that shouldn't be appraising businesses at all, because they're heavily into the real estate side or commercial, things like that. So one of our jobs in that process is to pick and choose the evaluator that best suits your particular business.
Right.
And you can go out and you can buy it on yourself. You can find an appraisers that you may want to work with.
Okay.
Generally, we can pick up the cost less expensively than you can on your own, and be more conscious of the quality that he brings to the table, he or she brings to the table in your particular business.
Right. And in addition to that, you want to make sure that you've already done the vetting of these individuals. So it's not as easy as going on Google and saying, attorney, business attorney, let me pick 3 of them and talk to them, because you could pick 3 losers, right? Not losers per se, but just not the right fit, right? Where you've already done that homework.
There's certain attorneys that are more comfortable. in the wills and probates and adoptions than they are in financial statements and buy-sell agreements and that kind of thing. And you got to look for somebody, especially in an exit strategy, what kind of buy-sell agreement would he define? Okay, what are the important steps that he wants to know about your business in order to build a program that's going to survive 3, 5, 10, 15 years?
That's right. Yeah, for sure. What are the most common types of exit strategies?
Depending on the size of the business.
Okay.
Obviously, a business up to $5 million, closing the business is one option always. Okay. Turn it over to family is an option always. One option that doesn't get me too excited is you burn out the business. You just work it and don't put any income back into the business. Don't try to build a business. Just take everything out and eventually come to the position of closing it. Or you can sell it. That's probably an option that is always open to you. And typically speaking, using a business broker in general, this is historically from the International Business Brokers Association, that a business broker handling the transaction will minimize the amount of money you might leave on the table because you try to do it by yourself.
That's right.
Or in some cases where you think your accountant can handle a business sale for you. Okay, because sometimes that happens, and their job is to do the accounting. Our job is to do the business sale.
As you know, I've owned many businesses in my time, and I've done it both with a business broker and without. And I will tell you, it was much more enjoyable with a business broker. And some of my friends said, "Well, why pay that extra money to a business broker when you don't have to?" Oh, you have to. I mean, it was a true eye opener for me when I tried to handle the business, to sell the business myself, and it was a complete disruption in my life. The second time, that was the first time. The second time, I said, "I'm never doing this again. I'm bringing a business broker in." And it made that transaction so much more enjoyable for both parties. And I highly recommend that to anybody that's listening, that if you've got a business and you're thinking about selling it, get with a guy like Michael that knows the landscape and knows what to look for and what to stay away from, and so that it doesn't eat up all of your time looking to say, okay, I'm going to shut down my business basically to now try to sell it, because the time is just incredible. Plus the dollar amount. I got way much more money for when I had a business broker for the business than even I thought it was worth. I had a number in mind, and the business broker said, actually, your valuation is very low. It should be higher. Sure enough, I sold it for that higher number based on his consultation.
It's a great history lesson.
Yeah, it is. It is. First time it was an expensive one, but a business broker I can't say enough about, because it's that third party credibility, and that third party that can bring the two parties together, because so many different things will come up in the business. And
it's access to experts.
Right.
Again, going back to the idea that the attorney who understands buy-sell agreements, the attorney understands an asset purchase agreement, the accountant understands the balance sheet and exactly how the asset allocation has to be in the balance. Those are the things that the individual doesn't have to deal with. He doesn't. Okay, the accountant may deal with, the accountant may not deal with. Okay, business broker has to have that on his forehead all the time, because that's part of why he gets paid. And again, historically, working through a business broker will generally get you more money than a business broker is going to cost you.
Yeah, for sure. Plus, you've got all of those contacts on financing and insurance, things like that, so that if somebody has the interest in your business, you can then swing right around and turn them on to the financing that's going to pay you as the business owner for that business, right? And that's a big factor.
In today's world, if you can't fund it, you can't sell it. It used to be that the owners would carry back the paper. In today's world, there's no need to do that. Although some owners were willing to do that with the proper situation. Let me go back to something I said very early in this conversation, is that confidentiality is critical. When you try to sell it by yourself, no matter how you think that you're going to keep it to yourself, it doesn't happen. Okay? So working through somebody who understands the need for confidentiality very specifically, okay, will do you well as far as your transaction is concerned.
And also vetting that person before you divulge all of the secrets and the recipes and everything else into your business. A friend of mine told me a story that he said, this person came in, wanted to buy his company, and to me, he said, it looked like this guy was a real buyer. He said, so we gave him everything. We gave him the numbers, we gave him everything that they needed to know. I told him how we started, how we got started, how we went after our clients, the whole 9 yards. He said, 6 months later, he opened up as a competitor of mine. and with all of the knowledge that we had, because he had never been in the business before. So I thought that was interesting, that the person you're speaking to may be interested in your business, but they might just be on a fact-finding mission.
One of the first things we do with a buyer, okay, we define 3 issues. We're concerned about their credit score. Right. We're concerned about their skill set, because that's what the bank cares about. Okay. The other is the confidentiality side. So we have a very strong confidentiality agreement, okay, that exists for a minimum of 2 years. Okay, when that prospective purchaser has gone through the first stages of qualification and signs off on this confidentiality agreement, all right, even though we will give him the information necessary for him to evaluate the business in his terms. Okay, the net effect is he can't do anything for 2 years that might be inherent on damaging that original business.
That my friend should have had an agreement like that. Yeah, right. There's no question, because he didn't have a business broker, and there's no question about it. Is it wise for business owners to buy their competitor?
It might be worthwhile from a financial standpoint. Okay. You got to understand what would be the purpose of the transaction. Is it to get out of the competitor? I'm usually a believer that competitors help you grow a business if you're acknowledging that they're there and you're working with them. And sometimes you become great friends with your competitors, okay? Because you've got the same goals, but you're being ethical about how you chase them. Right. Okay. Is it buying out? You just look at the financial side of it. Okay. If the cultures match, that's a good situation. Transactions are always difficult in changing cultures. Okay, in addressing the culture issue, even though you may not want to. You may want to keep his employee, you may not. Right. Okay, you may just want to address his customer base. Sure. Okay, sure. And if you can manage that new customer base within the structure you have, then financially it might be a good situation. And he may want out too. Who knows? Yeah, that's right. He may come back and buy you out.
You've seen that happen too. Yeah, I bet you've seen it all. You've been doing this for quite some time, right?
32 years I've been at it.
Oh my gosh! So you've seen there's nothing new getting thrown at you in this. There are, yeah. Yeah. How does all of this change, or does it change when there's a franchise involved? If I own a Burger King, or I own a Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. Now I'm getting hungry right now. But if I had a franchise, does it change any of this? Do I still need a business strategy?
Sure. Okay. The franchisor, coming out of the franchise side of the business, okay, because I spent a lot of years with a major real estate franchise organization. The franchise should be unfortunately, sometimes the franchise word gets a bad connotation. Yeah. Okay, that's not fair. Right. A good franchise, okay, will be nothing more than a research and development function for the business. Okay. Okay. The business owner still owns his business, and the business owner can manage the business under the guidelines of the franchisor. Okay. In the sales process, typically the franchisor may have the first right of refusal. Oh, okay. Okay, he may want to buy that out because he may want to be incorporating back to company-owned stores, or he may have you will always have the right of approval. Okay. So that's another step you have to take in that process.
So that's also something you've got to be aware of if you're thinking about buying a franchise. That if you, as to your point, if you started talking about an exit strategy from day one of that operation, but your franchise agreement says, no, you're getting back with us, and we have the first right of refusal on that, then you've got to address that franchisor someplace.
Absolutely. Right. Another big issue in our business is the lease. Yeah. Okay. Sure. A lot of business transactions get held up over a long period of time because the present owner of that business doesn't understand or has not been aware that he guaranteed that lease. Right. Okay, so if he just had signed on a 5-year lease, chances are pretty high, okay, that he will be obligated for the period of time unless that lease can be negotiated out. Right. Most landlords aren't interested in negotiating that lease out.
No, okay? They've already got the guy on.
They got one guy, now they got another guy on top of that, so they'll deal with that standpoint.
That's very interesting because that's probably a very common thing, right?
Very common. Yeah. Inevitably it'll hang up a transaction.
Oh, I bet.
Okay, because some sellers just are not interested in hanging around for 5 years on a piece of paper that may cost them a ton of money down the road.
That's right. And the current owner, they may operate it for 2 of the 5 years and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not on the hook for the lease for the next 3 years. the poor sucker that sold me the business is.
No, he'll be on the hook, but the guy who sold him the business will be the secondary. So if he walks away,
That's what I mean.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
they're going to
good.
go after
They're
that,
gonna go after
that
him.
person that's guaranteeing it.
and they do.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
They
Oh,
gotta-
absolutely. Absolutely.
Leasing companies have attorneys on staff that have nothing better to do.
That's right,
sometimes.
because they know they're going to get it, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to small business owners who may be, watching us today and talking about this very topic of, how to exit your business successfully?
Okay. Twofold. Surround yourself with experts that you're comfortable with. Your current attorney, your accountant. Just because you work with a business broker doesn't mean the business has to be for sale.
Yeah,
It may be the business broker is there to help you with the exit strategy, to help you move it through.
Sure.
And if your thought process is 2 years or 3 years, I work with customers that I've worked with 4 years, 5 years sometimes.
Wow.
Okay, and the bottom line is they're not ready to sell. Or I have one case that they sold to the son, and guess what? The son he's not making it work. So the dad's got to take it over again.
Sure.
Okay, now what do you do? Now how do you rebuild? I also suggest business coaches when I'm at the level of where I don't want to be involved in the everyday activity of your business. Okay, but you need somebody to help you understand how maybe to do something better.
Right.
Okay, a business coach would help you in that situation.
Okay.
And they do exist, they're good ones.
And you work with business coaches. You're like one-stop shopping, aren't you? For anybody that is thinking about either an exit strategy or the sale of a business, to buy a business, to get with other professionals that can help you. You're like a one-man wrecking ball in this area, right?
Jim, for sure, I don't have all the answers.
Sure.
Okay, but I know where to go.
Right.
Okay, I know who the guys that do best in a particular situation, and most of those people know me.
Right.
That says, well, he's a pretty good guy to go back and do business.
I think what's led to you being one of the leading business brokers in Atlanta, right? I mean, you've been doing it for a long time. Your reputation is impeccable. We at the show appreciate all the content that you give to our viewers and the contributions that you make. So, Michael Ramatowski, CEO of RamBizGroup, thank you so much for joining us on the Atlanta Small Business Show. This has always been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure when you come in because the content that you provide to our viewers is invaluable, and we always get such great feedback through our social outlets and our emails that we collect. And so I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show, and hopefully we can have you back again soon.
Jim, glad to be here. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for watching Atlanta Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick. This has been a JBF Business Media production.